Okay, we're ready to start on our main project, which is pretty darn exciting. Our raccoon gathering greens to share with her friends to celebrate the holidays. So here I have the tracing. The line drawing is included in your PDF. And you just need to put it on tracing paper and then go over the lines on the back with a pencil, turn it back over, go back over all the lines with either a stylus like this, or you can use a ballpoint pen, and that will transfer the graphite on the back of the lines onto your piece, and you'll have your design all set and ready to go. Now I just transferred the whole thing. And I think you can start like that. When I did my prototype, I just transferred a little bit at a time, but I don't really see the point in that. So this first part should be familiar to you from our warm-up lesson. We're going to start with the sky and proceed to the pine trees in the distance. So I'm using those same colors. And once again, you'll have color swatches in your PDF, and they will be labeled as always with the names of the paints, the brands, and the names of the actual paints in those brands. The important part is not those colors. The important part, not those brands and those exact colors. The important part is the color itself. So use whatever paint you have, acrylic paint, and match those colors as best you can, and you'll be fine. So I'm just using these colors as I did before. I started with the peachy keen right in the center in the lowest part there, and then I'm moving upwards with light parchment, blending into the peach, and like so. From there, we'll go to the lighter blue, and I really will try not to go over anything else. So I'm painting around the trees and the leaves here are falling, or not falling, but, well, there might be, there's a couple falling, but these up here are actually dead leaves hanging on these oak trees that are more in the foreground. Just like this, like we did before, although on a larger scale. And then I'm going to switch to my darker blue, which isn't all that dark, but it is darker. Blending. You have to work pretty quickly to be able to blend because acrylic paints dry pretty quickly. We're doing pretty good, but I don't like the way that's blended. Just keep working it until you like it. This darker blue is getting kind of a mottled look. Now sometimes you will have a mottled look because acrylic paint dries darker than it is when it's wet. So as these paints are quickly drying, they're at different stages of dryness, and so they're relatively darker. or lighter, depending on whether they're wetter or drier. So I'm going to the gray at the top left of the sky. And I'm gonna got a little cloud. So I did go over that leaf. Let's see if I can pull that out. Just because I think the color we're going to paint that leaf on is maybe a little transparent, and it's going to possibly show. I don't think I had a cloud over here in the prototype, but I kind of like that. Okay, now, oddly enough, I'm going to paint some of those sky colors into the tree. And that's just because the sky, we're going to have the sky showing through the foliage here and there, so we'll have, we want some color behind it. Let me look here. I think I'd like that blended a little better over there. It's a little better. I'm still thinking this darker blue is too splotchy. So I'm gonna correct that, hopefully. And I'm seeing a little bit of problem here with some of this lighter blue also, so I'm going to deal with that. And I think that's pretty good. You know, as you're working on different parts of your piece, the one you're working on at the moment draws your attention, but in the end, your attention really is not going to be that that drawn to some of these things because they're not that critical in the finished piece. Now I started to put the peach here, but these trees, this tree overlaps this tree, so this far tree or this late tree to the left probably comes over like that. So there's not going to be much sky showing through where these two trees cover each other. So now I'm going to get my liner brush and my tree trunk color, which is burnt umber. And I'm going to just sketch in some of these trunks like we did again on our warm-up piece in the turnip. Because I don't like to start stroking it up so much, but this is going to be easier. And just like before, a lot of this really isn't going to be showing in the end. It's just kind of a guide for us as we paint our trees. Where are our trees? Maybe at the top we're going to see some branches. And we can also paint these in later. Or just little glimpses of them as we might see them through the needles. Okay. All right, I think that looks pretty good also. And there can always do more though, if you are a fusser. And I think it's pretty generally true that, like if you look at this tree, the pine branches kind of tend to droop, but at the top they're not drooping, they're reaching up. But then as we work further down the tree, they start hanging down a little bit. And it's kind of nice to include that. All right, I think we're pretty good. But I think also I want to add another cloud. There. Don't know why. I can't tell you why, but that's the way I felt about it. So now I'm going to get my my greens for those trees out, for those pine trees out, and while I do, I want to take a minute to talk about these paints. So I am using what they call decorative paints. They're acrylic paints. They are available online and also in craft stores, craft supply stores. And they are inexpensive paints. They come in a huge selection of colors. And they are, I guess the thing that I like most about them is that they're come in so many colors and they're inexpensive, and you don't have to mix your own colors unless you want to, and you don't have to spend a ton of money to have a whole variety of colors. And I find both those things really, really wonderful, and I think the paints work well. Sometimes I need a second coat, but other than that, well, and even that's not bad. And I just really enjoy them. They're easily obtainable also. Okay, so the brushes we're using for the pine trees, just like before, are these bristle brushes in a dabbing motion. And you do want them damp because the water coat protects the bristles in the brush from the paint, but you don't want them, sopping wet. So actually I'm going to start with a smaller brush. Okay, I'll use this one. I'm going to start painting close to this leaf that's going to be coming over this tree. And you remember I said I wanted to paint around these. Now, there's a couple of reasons why you might want to paint around them, and there's other reasons that you might not want to. So a reason to paint around them is that you don't lose your lines. If I painted the sky and painted right over these leaves, where these leaves go, then I would have two things I would have to do. I would have to come back and trace the lines for those leaves over again. And if I were tracing on over a dark color, that would be hard because my graphite wouldn't show very well. So that's one problem. And then the other problem is that when you paint, you're not painting on a white background, you're painting on whatever the sky was, and that can be a problem as well. So when I can, I just paint around. And of course that's not always possible. So there's a little tip of tree sticking up back here, and it's in the back, so I'm going to paint that kind of darker. And then I'm going to come back over here. And I'm not concerned about going over the I'm not really concerned about going over this tree. It's got a rough edge on it anyway. Just dabbing, going from one color to another for some variation. I am using lighter colors towards the front. Move this over into better light. Darker colors behind. I wanted you to see the palette, but I don't think it's all that critical actually. So just taking my time, dark here where it falls behind this other tree. And I don't have sky holes over here, so I think I will paint some. Paint yellow up here. And a little bit of peach down in here. Let that dry. Maybe some more over here. Okay. So I'm going to come back over to this one, to this other side, and oddly enough, even though I did the one that was behind over there with a dark color, I've decided to work here with a lighter color and then go down darker. So I didn't actually paint sky behind this, but oops, I don't want brown. Take most of the water back off. It's a good thing these brushes are inexpensive, because when you treat them this way, they are not happy. This isn't strictly the leaf, but the stem of the leaf is here, so a little bit of the leaf, so I'm gonna go around. Now this tree, these trees are sort of at eye level, so we're not seeing, it just looks flat across the bottom, but this one's closer to us, and so we're going to start to see the conical shape of the tree in terms of what the shape is along the bottom, so it's more rounded rather than flat. We've got another leaf there that's, in this case, it's falling. So there's my sky that I can go around nicely. And I'm going to be darker on this edge. So the light source, the light's going to be pretty diffuse because it's snowing, but also we can surmise from the colors in the sky that the sun had set over here, so the sun would have been, is another source of color, and it's coming from the left. here I would like to go nicely around this leaf. Might be nice to have an even lighter color, which I certainly could get by mixing some white into one of these greens, the darker greens, but I'm not going to bother. Partly because, like I said before, because this is really just the setting. It's not, you know, a part of the painting that we're going to be paying a lot of attention to. Okay, now let's go back over to the other side here. I think we'll go back to this color. Oh, and when you, I guess you could call this pouncing. I don't know if there's any actual technical term for it, but this kind of stroke, if you're pouncing over colors, over a color that's wet, you're going to get a blurry edge between the two colors. And if you use one that's, or go over something that's already dry, like here, then you're going to get a sharper color or sharper line that divides the two colors. Boy, it would be nice to, I think I am going to get just a little bit of white. This would be good. Where is my white? Over here. Okay. This is actually gesso, which belongs over here. By the way, I would like to suggest to you that you not judge your painting when it's wet. And by judge, I mean, you know, say to yourself, oh, I don't like this. Because the colors really change when it dries. For one thing, the colors get a lot more even, which is a nice thing. But like, since they do get darker when they dry, they're going to be going through that color change all along the drying process. And, you know, even though they can be dry to the touch, they may not actually really be really dry until possibly even the next morning. So just if you're unhappy, I don't know why you would be, but if I've been unhappy sometimes with my paintings, and I get upset about it, and then I look at them in the morning and they look a lot better. So keep that in mind. Although there's really nothing with these trees that we're doing so far that should give you any problems, I don't think. These brushes, these little bristle brushes, they are readily available at craft stores, any place that sells paint supplies. They should not be expensive. Just bristle brushes, rounds, small rounds. And we're being very hard on them by the way we're using them. Pouncing, pouncing, pouncing. And we only have one tree to go. So let's do it. I'm going to turn it upside down for a minute. Now this is my darkest color. And as I come over to where the dark is on the tree next to it, I'm going to a color a little bit lighter, and then right on the edge, be lighter still. I can turn it back up. It was just awkward to get this edge here from this angle instead of from the other. So now I loaded too much paint on my brush because I was getting kind of big globs. So you can see, I think that by going from one color to another color as you work on these trees, you're kind of getting a, because the colors are different values, in other words, lighter or darker, you are getting the impression of the trees being 3D cone shapes. Okay, this looks a little weird being so light in there, but it's pretty wet. And that's weird too. All right, now I'm pretty happy with my sky holes, but I think I can do some more with the trunk. Putting more of the trunk in. That's a little much up there. Gosh, my brush is, look how the brush is bent. That's bad. It's hard to paint with a brush that's bent. Let's have a branch coming down like that. Maybe one there. All right. See, I was going to say that was enough, but I don't know. I'll do a little more on these. These pine trees, I think, are really fun to paint. Okay, I think that's good. So we'll call that good. And while I have some burnt umber left here, I'm gonna just put some light wash over these trees. We'll be coming back. We'll be working on these next, but let's get a little bit of color on them. And does not have to be perfectly smooth because tree trunks are not perfectly smooth. I have a fair amount of water in my brush here, so the color's not dark. Excuse me. It doesn't have to be even, but don't really want particularly dark chunks here and there. So when we come back, we'll have to let this dry. But when we come back, we're going to work on, we're going to finish up these tree trunks here and put in the ground. And after that, I'll get to our raccoon. Okay, so that's that for now. I'll let it dry, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.